Recording. All right, everyone, welcome. We'll call the meeting to order. It is 5:31 p.m. This is the April MAC meeting. We are in April. It's hard to believe. Oh, I don't know where my video went. There we go. Sorry. Bear with me, guys. All right, we'll start with introductions. So I will start. I am Jocelyn Santiago. I am the Early Childhood Services Coordinator for the town of Mansfield, and I will pass it to Sarah DeLuca.
Hi everyone, Sarah DeLuca. I am the Mansfield Youth Services Supervisor.
Thank you. Lisa?
Lisa Don, the Director at Community Children's Center.
Thank you. Erin?
Erin Clark, Director at Mount Hope Montessori School.
Thank you. Kathleen?
Kathleen Kreider, and if you can't tell, Access is celebrating its 60th anniversary. Access Community Action Agency.
Wonderful. Thank you. Emily?
Emily Webson, Mansfield Public Library Youth Services.
Thank you. Marianne?
Marianne Lagasse, Yukon Child Development Labs.
Thank you. Kat?
Kat Hamill, Parent Advocate.
Thank you. Shamim?
Shamim Katwa, Director of Student Support Services, Mansfield Public Schools.
Awesome. Thank you. And Debbie, if you're able to unmute, I don't know if you're traveling.
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
I'm just getting into my car now. Debbie Plourd, Mansfield Discovery Depot.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we have a guest today. Courtney, we'll just save till we get to your presentation part and you can give your introduction then. And I see Valerie just joined us. She might be getting settled, but Val, if you're able to introduce yourself real quick, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Valerie. I'm the ECCP consultant.
Yay.
Great. Thank you, Valerie. All right. I think I got everyone. The next item on our agenda is an opportunity for public comment. We did not receive any written public comments. We'll just state for the record, is anyone here for public comment? Okay, seeing none, the opportunity for public comment is closed. And we will move into our exciting guest presentation for tonight. So I will turn it over to Courtney. Feel free to just briefly introduce yourself while I get the screen sharing set up for you.
Yeah, perfect. So hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Mellick. I am a second-year student at UConn in the Graduate Audiology program. And I'm here to talk to you guys today about congenital cytomegalovirus. As part of our curriculum, all second-year students complete a prevention project. So we identify a topic that we're passionate about, and also it's something that we feel knowledge needs to be spread about within a community. And CCMV will disproportionately affect families with young children, specifically in an early childhood setting.
I am thinking if I did get the call.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Debbie.
Sorry.
So I am here today to kind of give you guys some information on that.
Wonderful. Okay, I have it set up so you should be able to share your screen if you'd like.
Okay. All right, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, this is covering CCMV today, which is congenital cytomegalovirus. Just a few disclosures before we start. Again, I am a graduate student, so I don't yet hold a doctoral degree. I am fulfilling a requirement of my program today, and I am also employed by UConn as a graduate research assistant in the Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences. So what is CCMV? So again, we're talking about congenital cytomegalovirus specifically. There's also cytomegalovirus. So congenital just means that it is present from birth, and virus is a bug that causes infection, for simple terms. Both CCMV and CMV are contagious. So this just means that the infection spreads from person to person, and contagious through bodily fluids is mainly what we're looking at here. So CMV can also be contracted after birth, and when it's contracted after birth, we mostly see really mild symptoms, so things like the common cold. And actually 1 out of 3 children will be infected with non-congenital CMV by the time they're age 5. And again, this is very non-worrisome. We're talking about things like cough, runny nose, sniffles, things that are really, really common in our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. However, CCMV can be really dangerous for our newborns, and it can result in severe symptoms and developmental delays. So how does a baby get CCMV? Babies are infected with CCMV in utero. So about 1 out of 200 babies are born with CCMV. Mom is first infected with the non-congenital version, CMV, and the virus is then passed to the baby through the process of vertical transmission. So this is just how the infection spreads from mom to baby through the placenta. Again, all of this is occurring while the baby is still in utero. So when CMV is vertically transferred from mom to baby, the baby then contracts the congenital version, and we start referring to it as CCMV. Babies are most commonly infected with CCMV in the late 1st to early 2nd trimesters, so really fairly early in the pregnancy. So the effects of CCMV, the effects are pretty serious. Newborns can present as symptomatic or asymptomatic at birth, meaning that the baby either has signs of an infection or the baby does not have signs of an infection. 1 out of 6 newborns with CCMV will present as symptomatic at birth, and these symptoms can include yellow skin or eyes, so things like jaundice, rash, enlarged liver or spleen, small head, which we would refer to as microcephaly, inflammation of the eyes, small size, or even prematurity can actually be a symptom. 1 out of 5 babies born with CCMV will have birth defects or other long-term health problems. And these long-term health problems can include neurodevelopmental delays, motor and cognitive disabilities, and sensory neural hearing loss, which is actually the most common long-term symptom. So childhood hearing loss, this is where audiology comes in. So 50% of our symptomatic babies will develop sensory neural hearing loss. This is just a hearing loss that's related to the brain or sensory organs of the ear, and it's a permanent type. Hearing loss can cause delays in language, executive functioning, and emotional regulation. So executive functioning being, again, I'm sure we're familiar with this, but our ability to plan, meet goals, follow directions, focus, emotional regulation, being able to manage and respond to our emotions. So we can kind of see how these effects of hearing loss would make communication, education, and developing healthy relationships more difficult, which are all really important milestones in early childhood. So there's a number of interventions and therapies that can help children and their families overcome these barriers. The good news is that hearing loss related to CCMV is preventable. So I'm sure you're all wondering why the early childhood setting is important and why this information might be helpful for you to know. It's really comes down to where the virus is most commonly spread. So again, CMV is transferred through bodily fluids, and it's most commonly transferred to pregnant adults from young children. So either young children they work with or their own children at home. And children under the age of 2 actually have larger amounts of virus in their saliva and urine. So they have a larger viral load overall. When a child has CMV, they can then pass it to the adult through these fluids, where again, it will be vertically transmitted to the fetus and develop into CCMV. So we don't want to be doing things like sharing cups, sharing utensils, drinks, or food with young children when we're pregnant. We don't want to be orally cleansing children's binkies. I'm sure we've all seen, the binky fall on the floor, mom picks it up, licks it off, and we hand it back to the baby. That's a big one that we kind of want to make sure we're avoiding. Definitely washing our hands with soap and warm water, especially after changing a child's diaper. And if CMV is contracted during pregnancy, there's actually antiviral medication that can be prescribed to decrease the risk of transmission. The important thing to note here is that, again, CMV presents as a common cold. So during pregnancy, it's really important to kind of be checking in with our bodies, know how we're feeling, and taking precautions to get checked out, even if it seems like it might be minor. So materials for families, I did share a pamphlet that I created as part of this project. That's printable and can be passed out at anyone's discretion. But again, the major take home here, I think, is that family action prevents CCMV. So a big problem that we've encountered in kind of putting prevention efforts into the community is that no one just knows what CCMV is. It's not really talked about in OBGYN offices that often. And we're kind of hoping to see this change with the implementation of newborn screenings, which I'll talk about as well. But really, education is super powerful here. And I think just having that material available to families will make a huge difference. So if a parent is concerned, how can their child get tested? Again, babies are usually tested for CCMV using a saliva or urine sample. Urine samples are collected by placing a special bag in the baby's diaper. Saliva samples are swabbed. Blood tests can also sometimes be used, but they're much, much less common, and you'll most likely see the saliva or urine sample done. It's important that the baby's tested for CCMV within 21 days of birth to determine if it is congenital. However, CCMV testing is not yet required for all newborns in Connecticut. Parents can always talk to their child's pediatrician and request that they be tested. But if the baby would fail their newborn hearing screening, since that is the most common long-term permanent symptom, they will automatically be tested for CCMV. The good news is that universal CCMV screening for all newborns will be implemented in Connecticut in 2025. So we're thinking the end of summer, most likely. So all babies will receive the lab test for CCMV before they leave the hospital. And with the implementation of this, we're hoping that, again, that education and knowledge piece really starts to spread as well. So resources that are available, I have 3 up here: National CMV Foundation, MN Department of Health, and the Connecticut Department of Public Health. I think all 3 of these kind of go into different levels of detail. So if you want more background information, the Department of Health resources are really good. The National CMV Foundation has a really parent-friendly resource, so I think all of these have their value. And if anyone would like a copy of these slides, just put your email in the chat and I'd be happy to email that out to you. Okay, that was the short presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I read your brochure. Thank you for sending that along in advance. And I see that that CMV is related to herpes, is in the herpes family. So
Yeah.
does that mean that it's carried for life?
Good question. So no, it's not carried for life. Well, the effects of it will last for life, correct?
Mm.
If it results in a developmental delay or a motor or cognitive disability, that will be lifelong. The virus itself can be eradicated from the system, though, with an antiviral medication as well. Pretty strong medication. When we say it's a member of the herpes family, we're talking about that in terms of how we conduct the lab testing for it. It is tested with a PCR protocol. So we're looking at something called a polymerase chain reaction. And we use different viral groups to classify what kind of chain reaction we're looking for. So that's really all that means.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And also, if hearing loss is going to happen if you have CCMV,
Yeah.
You said maybe by 21 days?
So we want the babies tested by 21 days. That's to determine if the CMV is congenital or not, because there's always the chance that the baby could contract CMV after birth.
Right.
Correct. When we see it contracted after birth, we don't get as severe of symptoms. So we want to know early on in the baby's life if it is congenital, so we can take precautions. So for example, getting them into birth 3, getting them regularly scheduled audiological testing, regularly scheduled speech follow-ups, just so we can monitor their progress.
But they wouldn't necessarily lose their hearing. Is that what I'm
Not
understanding?
necessarily, no, not every baby that has CCMV will lose their hearing. Progressive hearing loss is common though, so we do see it a lot.
Thanks. Good
Yeah.
presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Any other questions at this time for Courtney?
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So if there were, say, a 2-year-old and they had, one was suspecting they have hearing loss, and I mean, obviously, as like, I would never be like, do you think they had CCMV? But is that could possibly be like what it was? And they would get to the bottom of it with their provider. It's not like on us to
Right.
say that, but
Yeah, so once a child is into their toddler years, it's really hard to determine if hearing loss is due to CCMV, especially if it's the only symptom. Now, if we have other symptoms as well, like a motor disability, a cognitive disability, cerebral palsy is a really common one that also can result from CCMV. Then it's a little bit easier to kind of group those things together and be like, okay, mom, were you sick during this pregnancy? Okay, probably CCMV. Without having that like universal screening, it's hard to say for sure, which is why implementing that is going to be really nice as well. And I don't think you're correct. I don't think it's early childhood's job to say it could be this, but
Right.
so you have your kids in the classroom, maybe they're having siblings that are coming. You have these pamphlets on hand that you might be able to share with families or share other information from other resources. I think that could be really helpful. Because again, we want to prevent this before the pregnancy can get to the point where it can be contracted, if that makes sense.
yeah, I can see too how for expecting mom, how it would be almost like so scary just to have the pamphlet because the colds are like rampant in early childhood and everywhere.
Right. That's something we also talk about a lot too. Again, the goal is not to scare anyone or induce any sort of anxiousness or nervousness, but since there are steps that can be taken to prevent it, again, at the end of the day, I think education is important, and I would rather know, I think, than not know, but everyone feels their own way about that. So that's kind of a line we have to navigate as well.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions at this time? All right, great. Thank you so much, Courtney. This was really helpful. I personally have never heard of CCMV, so this was great for me to learn about. And we appreciate you taking time to come to us at MAC and share this information.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I was going to say you're welcome if you want to stay on for the meeting, but there's no pressure. You don't have to.
Yeah, I'll stick around.
All right, great. Okay, so moving right along, we have the March draft minutes that we need to approve. Does anyone have any corrections to the March minutes? Okay, if not, I will take a motion to approve them. Lisa, thank you. We have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Marianne. All in favor of approving the minutes? Any opposed? Great, we are unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so going into the school readiness and OEC updates. It'd be lovely if I had the full picture to give you tonight, but unfortunately I still do not. So I will tell you what I do know and what I can say right now. So the Part B of the RFAs have been submitted at this time. We are awaiting OEC decision to see if they are approving additional spaces for our early childhood centers. So we will see where that falls. I know one of our centers had a little hiccup that's on the OEC's end of their RFA Part A preliminary award. Just some numbers weren't matching up. So I think they have some things on their end that they need to do to match those up. And that's been the same sentiment shared from other liaisons in other towns that they've also noticed. There's a few errors in these award letters. So I imagine they're working through a lot of questions and requests right now, so nothing on Part B just yet, but as soon as we know, the council will also know. Last meeting, we talked a little bit about the transition of a school readiness council into the local governance partner model. So we're still kind of navigating what that will look like for us. As I had said last meeting, I suspect nothing really will change all that much for us as a council, since we are kind of already doing the things that they are hoping that we will shift to. As Mansfield Advocates for Children, we're invested in children birth through 8 in our community. It's not just that school readiness age. And that's the direction that the state would like us to go in. And even before birth too, they said prenatal would be something great. So we're already kicking it off. Great having Courtney here and some information about that. So we're looking at maybe getting someone from the Mansfield OBGYN office to joining the council, just to have that perspective. They also will be requiring that we have 2 parent ambassadors on the local governance partners. And so these parent ambassadors will be paid $25 an hour. I think it's 240 hours for the year, split between the 2 parents. So Kat, it doesn't automatically mean you have to do this if you're like, I can't take that on right now. It's just a role that we will fill and recruit for. And the state right now, they're saying they will be providing those funds to pay these parent ambassadors. So we need them to do that because budget seasons, it's kind of too late to budget for 2 parent ambassadors on top of that. So, and all of the other towns have been giving them that feedback too. So if this requirement is coming, we expect that the state is giving us these funds to be able to pay these parents as parent ambassadors. They haven't been clear about what exactly the parent ambassador will do. So I'm waiting on more information for that. But just so you know, that is something that we will be required to have on our council. The other requirement is that we still need a liaison, so I won't be going anywhere. I will still be the liaison. And the third role is the family engagement specialist. And so the state is saying the liaison can also be the family engagement specialist if the liaison has capacity to do both of those roles. Some towns, school readiness, that is like that one person's only job as the liaison is to manage school readiness stuff. Here in Mansfield, I do other things in my role outside of school readiness. So again, we think that talking with Sarah and our director, Jessica St. Louis, we all are in agreement that the family engagement specialist piece kind of already ties to the work that I'm doing, and looking forward to the next year of how my role can be more focused towards those 2 things. So those are some changes to the local governance partners. And they are also offering a transition grant to the School Readiness Council to prepare to become the local governance partner. And we can apply to up to $5,000 to plan how we will transition. So Sarah and I had met with, she does not work for the state, but the state is kind of having her handle all of the local governance partner questions. But we met with her and kind of asked her, like, what can we use these funds for, and what would that look like? Again, I think Mansfield, we won't have to do a whole lot of planning to transition to this because this is already kind of our model. Whereas other towns, it will take a lot more legwork, or towns that have, you know, over 300 slots in school readiness, it might take a lot more legwork to get this transition in the place that you want it to go. Same goes for the towns that are choosing to regionalize. It will take more thoughtful planning and getting people to a physical meeting space to talk about how they want to form a joint council. As I said last meeting, Mansfield right now, we are planning to just stay Mansfield and retain the name Mansfield Advocates for Children. The state did say that is okay. We can be the local governance partner, but we can call it what we would like to call it. So I'm in favor of keeping it Mansfield Advocates for Children if no one else is opposed to that. I think that makes the most sense for us in the work that we do. So yeah, for the transition grant, we are allowed to, if we wanted to have a physical meeting to talk about it, we could get some food to have at the meeting to encourage more of the public to attend and give us ideas about this. We can use it on promotional materials. So if we needed to make like little brochures about Early Start Connecticut and the options through that, we could do that. Unique to each center even. Yes, Shamim.
Could you use it for, I know you want to do something with this, like a mobile resource fair or an early childhood fair. Could you use it for that?
I think if we can justify in the narrative that I have to write that it will help us plan the transition to this. So I think
Yeah.
so. But it really then it would depend how good our narrative is saying that we need this for that.
And I'm sorry, I just need clarification. So the
Yeah.
transition is from what to what?
From a school readiness council to a local governance partner.
I see.
So some people are hiring consultants to come and like facilitate and give them guidance of like how to be a good, strong local governance partner. I don't think we need that here in Mansfield. I think, you know, everyone can put we have a little bit of time before we need to submit this. I think the application is due May 1st on my end. So if everyone wants to think about it and if any ideas come to you that you think, hey, this might be a good way to use the funding, we can include that in the narrative. Sarah, was there anything else that we were brainstorming about of using the money for?
I think just the overall message is really so I don't know if you said, Jocelyn, but this transition time is only going to be the months of May and June. So we're looking at a pool of money that will have to be used in those 2 months. So it's really, this isn't like a grant, you know, looking ahead, starting the new fiscal year for the whole year. This is really only in this transition period. So those 2 months. So Jocelyn and I are still trying to kind of figure out what this all is going to look like. But I think overall, they want us to really sort of see what the community needs and kind of bring everyone together to brainstorm. So whether that be, you know, you get folks there by bringing lunch in, or you bring a meal in, or kind of like just getting the community together to sort of assess like, is there anything more that we need? And we don't have all the answers on what this transition will really look like. So it's a little tricky for us to kind of help you kind of understand it all, but we're trying to get more answers so we can better understand what this transition time will look like.
Yeah, so it's a really quick turnaround.
Really quick turnaround.
Yeah, 2 months to spend all of this money is a challenge, and also to plan for this transition. I think we're moving really fast and we're kind of being drip fed little bits of information along the way. So it's really hard to plan thoughtfully, all of us together, without knowing the full picture of what this will look like. And that has been the messaging I've been sharing with the OEC too, and the rest of the liaisons in our statewide group. We all kind of feel like we kind of need to know this before we can plan how we are transitioning into something new. And
I think if I could say the directors are feeling similarly in limbo about what is July 1st going to look like.
Right.
I wonder if there's some kind of micro portion of this grant, should you get it, that we could have some really a small directors meeting with you and maybe Sarah, if Sarah's interested, just about how some of the roles are shifting. Like for us, over all the years, school readiness always went through the liaison.
Right.
So you were the contact person. I think I understand that it's not going to be that way. So I think if we got together and could really hash out some details, that would be great.
Right. And I agree. And, you know, we're getting really close to the end of the fiscal year. So I'm hoping, and a lot of councils too, they wrap up by May. A lot of councils don't meet in June. So it's like we need this information before everyone goes on their break for the summer. And then we're back and nobody knows what they're doing still. So it's not a great position to be in, I'm sure, on your end as directors and also on our end over here. It's mixed messaging, and some information goes to you, some goes to me. And so again, if we can just continue to have that open line, if you receive anything surrounding this topic, please just send it to me. It helps me stay informed of what's going on at the state level. And I will do the same. Any communication I receive, I'll share with you. And if it's double information, I'd rather have double information than no information. So never hesitate to send me anything with that. Other than that, other school readiness items, I just wanted to remind the center directors, if you have not submitted your March report already, it is due on April 11th to submit that to me and also to upload it into the ECE reporter. And then the last school readiness item I have is in an effort to allow people to attend Mansfield Discovery Depot's Early Childhood Rally. I know May 7th is our next MAC meeting. So I am going to cancel that meeting and I will just schedule a special meeting. Special meeting topics. So the only thing with special meeting is we cannot stray from the agenda. What's on the agenda is all that we can talk about. We cannot add new things to the agenda. So I will keep the next meeting strictly focused on Early Start Connecticut and local governance partner things. And I'm hoping that I will have all the pieces of information then. And then I'm looking to create just a little PowerPoint. That way visually you can see it and hear it, share it with you, and then we can kind of go through what this will take shape as. So for May.
Jocelyn?
Yes,
Jocelyn?
Debbie. Yes.
Hey, oh, that's so very nice of you. Thank you so much.
Of course. I want to be there too.
Appreciate that. Oh, good, good. I appreciate that. You don't know how much. I was just like, whoa, wow, yay. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, of course. So yeah, and also Debbie, if you end up creating any kind of flyer for this, I'm happy to share it with the community too, and we can get that.
Great, I will.
Help spread the word.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So looking at May, if everyone could just kind of peek at your calendar real quick. I'd like to keep the meeting on a Wednesday evening if we could. So we have the 14th, 21st, or the 28th as our options. I'm okay with just bumping it into the 14th if that works for everybody. Yeah. Okay, great. May 14th. Okay, and then after our May meeting will be our June in-person meeting. So we'll have a good time at the in-person meeting. That will be fun. Do we have any questions? Well, I'm sure there's lots of questions about school readiness and OEC.
Do you have the date for that June meeting?
June 4th. And I'll reserve a conference room here in the town hall, and then we can just have a MAC party in the town hall council. Any questions about what I just talked about right now with school readiness and OEC? I know there's some lingering questions, but anything regarding what we just talked about? Okay, great. So we'll move quickly into member reports. If anyone has anything they'd like to share.
Did everybody's staff see about the grant that they can apply for? The $2,800? Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. I was out for Monday, Tuesday, and then I got some text last night like, oh, so everybody was excited here.
Not administrators, though.
I know. It made me wonder what we should do with that 5K. No. Have a big party in June. PD, maybe some sort of a literacy thing. Maybe we could use it for one of our, I don't know, required professional developments.
Yes. Shamim, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want people to know that kindergarten registration is going on, as well as pre-K, no, not pre-K, well, child find screening will be coming out soon. And then there's a link for the pre-K lottery as well. As you know, we have a lot of birth for students coming into the system for existing. So I really don't know how many slots will be available for typically developing students. But I just want to make sure everybody knows about it.
Thank you. Shamim, real quick while we're talking about kindergarten and pre-K, I know the Board of Ed, they had discussed a bit about the transition into 3 full-day preschool classrooms. Is that official yet? Do we know?
Yeah, and that's not exactly a board decision, but the
Okay.
proposed, the plan was shared at a board meeting.
Okay.
So it is moving forward that way. We have some distinction for students with IEPs, depending on their own unique needs. They may not be students that are staying a full day.
Okay. Great. Thank you. And that's okay for centers to share that information with families at this point?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I hate to boil it down this way, but a student with an IEP is guaranteed a spot in our pre-K program. A student who is typical functioning will be routed to the lottery. And if you saw the board presentation, we are also looking at, weighting or putting a weight to families that are in need of financial assistance or qualify in certain ways so that they have a higher weighting in the lottery process.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Can I jump in, Jocelyn?
Yes, go for it,
Yeah,
Emily.
thank you for that clarification, Shamim. I've been getting some questions from families at the library as well who are looking toward that option and very excited. And I'm trying to let them know that there might not be a reality of them getting spots, especially for a typically developing 3-year-old. Are we seeing the priority is like more likely that a 4-year-old would be in, right?
4-year-old would be a typical functioning 4-year-old would be more likely than a typical functioning 3-year-old.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue to try to make that clear to families. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the distinction that we're really looking at is we're addressing, significant needs in our pre-K program. It's an integrated program. We've gone back to a model that was probably there 10, 15 years ago, where you didn't automatically get into pre-K if you were neurotypical. It was, you were considered a phrase they use that I don't really want to use, but the peer model concept. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
Are English language learners considered having not that they might have an IEP, but do you give any preference to little ones who have a different language at home?
No, that really wouldn't be a disability. In fact, it's probably an advantage. But if they were coming from birth to 3, which we are seeing quite a few students who are in second language homes, that they would automatically be routed if they have unique needs or developmental needs.
Shamim, I had a question. I entered my daughter into the lottery yesterday when it opened for pre-K. It's not going to be able to accommodate everyone, like you said. Do you have a percentage maybe, or a ballpark or anything?
I don't. I'm sorry, because I'll tell you this year, and this is what we're up against. This year alone, I probably had 10 birth to 3 transition meetings. My typical years are not like this. And I'm already seeing the roster growing for next year. These are good things, good problems in that we're catching early intervention and kids who really need comprehensive supports. I couldn't tell you exactly what it's, I'm so sorry. I know every day I run into people saying, yikes, how do I get in? And the lottery is probably the most equitable way of doing it.
Yeah, my daughter's also a Burr birthday, and so I saw what they did this year. So I was hopeful. I was oh, this will hopefully be in place for my birthday kid, but maybe not.
Yeah, well, lotteries have a way of, surprising us too.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Shamim, when will families know if they're in or not?
Oh, I think our window is later. I offhand, I can't remember. I know we're doing it before June during the lottery. I we'll also be reserving spots in the pre-K program for those, surprise birth to 3 students that come to district. I actually got one just today, and they have a June birthday. It's like, wow, where were you? So I know this is going to be a year of transition. I think in the end, we also can look at if students need something. I'm always open to seeing if we need to look at some kind of itinerant services, or we'll have conversations.
Great, thank you. Anything else anyone would like to report out at this time? Emily, you want to talk about the library?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know. I think some people know already, some people don't, but Rachel Velez, who had been the other children's librarian with us, who had her baby in January, and she's doing great. Baby's doing great. I actually got to see them today. But she will not be returning to work at the library at this time. She's staying home with baby. So just wanted to let you guys know that's where Rachel is, because she's been visiting some of your centers throughout the years. So she won't be back, and we are working on hiring a new children's librarian. So if you know anyone who is a MLS holding children's or youth services librarian, we're in the hiring process, and you could send them to the application in the next few weeks would be ideal. So just that quick update. And yeah, we're looking forward to summer. We have some April break plans. We got a lot of fun stuff as always. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think April break week, Emily and I will do our first early childhood nature walk at the library too. So we're really excited about that and to collaborate in that way together. So I think the next 2 months we have walks planned. So once we have a flyer for that too, and Emily's spring break flyer too, I'll make sure we share it with all of you so you can share it with your communities as well.
We want to also mention Earth Day, Jocelyn. I don't know if any flyers have gone out about that yet, but
Yeah.
I know Youth Services will be participating in a Earth Day event, which will be on April 26th. It's a Saturday from 9 to noon at the community center. So we'll have some fun activities for the little ones, all Earth Day themed. We'll be doing some planting, maybe some stuff about herbs, and kind of helping to encourage little ones and families to learn about herbs and continue to use herbs in their cooking. And there'll be other folks there as well, but kind of stay tuned for that, because you'll probably see some information coming about that.
We were talking about like exploring like the senses with herbs, and so putting like different herbs inside boxes, and you have to like feel and smell them to try to guess which herbs are hidden inside the boxes. So we think that'll be very fun. So yeah, we would love if you could make it to the Earth Day event. Family friendly fun for everyone. Low resources. We won't send you home with a bunch of stuff to stay in line with our sustainable efforts, especially on Earth Day. So anything else from anyone? All right. Seeing none, I have no upcoming agenda items written down, but it will primarily be Early Start Connecticut and local governance partners going forward until we start this new process. So more to come on that. And the last thing is a motion to adjourn. Anyone?
So moved.
All right, Shamim, Lisa, second. All in favor of adjourning? Beautiful. All right, we are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you again, Courtney.
Thank you.